Alan Moore's The Killing Joke is one of those big touchstone Batman stories. It's a story that everyone seems to know even if they haven't actually read it before. It's also a story fans have been chomping at the bit to see become an animated movie. There were always a ton of hurdles to overcome in making that happen, however. Be it in terms of content, The Killing Joke, for those of you who don't know, is probably one of the darkest and most disturbing Batman stories ever written. The voice cast, the powers that be not wanting to actually make the movie unless they could once again reunite Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, the animated series Batman and Joker respectively. Hamill even going as far as to say that playing the Joker in a Killing Joke movie would be the only thing to get him out of retirement on the character. And perhaps lastly, length. People seem to forget, but The Killing Joke isn't some big arc. It's only a little longer than your average weekly comic book. And yet, here we are in 2016, all the planets have aligned and we finally got a movie adaptation of The Killing Joke, brought to us by producer Bruce Timm, whose name you should really know by now as he is a legend in the DC animated universe, written by Brian Azzarello, well-known comic scribe, and directed by Sam Liu, an animation veteran who has had the reins on these last few direct-to-DVD movies. Now, you'll remember a few seconds ago I talked about length. Well, it seems to remedy this very specific problem and perhaps to also help contextualize the brutality that will soon be delivered upon Barbara Gordon. The Killing Joke movie offers up an almost 30-minute long prologue sequence focusing on Batgirl in her prime before the actual adaptation part of the movie even starts. Now, when I first heard about the prologue, I was on board with it, in theory at least. I mean, for a lot of people out there, this was going to be their first time with The Killing Joke, so it makes sense to try and, explain to these people who Batgirl is, so when what we all know is going to happen eventually happens, it will hit newcomers just as hard as it does veterans. Only, the problem is this prologue ends up being easily the worst thing about the movie. Allow me to explain. So, it seems Batgirl has run afoul of a new and upcoming Gotham mafioso who forms a creepy attachment to her, not unlike Joker's attachment to Batman. Batman worries about the young hero in his charge, and so he takes her off the case, which of course only makes Batgirl want to take this guy out even harder. But that's not all Barbara wants, because there's also a side plot in the prologue about Batgirl being in love with Batman. Now, this idea should be nothing new to people who grew up on Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series. There, they had a whole subplot going on about Barb having a schoolgirl crush on Batman. This would play in the background of certain episodes, and in between that series and Batman Beyond, they would eventually become a couple, Barb even admitting as much to Terry in an episode. Yes, it was weird and it was taboo, but those were the buttons they were trying to push at the time. It was subtle and you could easily ignore it if you wanted to. Here in The Killing Joke, though, it is not subtle at all. In fact, spoilers, Batgirl and Batman totally have sex, which is gross feeling enough on its own, but the lead up to it is super uncomfortable. They do that whole Frank Miller fight, screw stuff, and it just does not feel good. But the major issue is that this sex scene ends up completely reframing what we'll see later when it actually comes time to tell the story of The Killing Joke. Now, it's not just a story of Batman and Joker having what could be their final dance of death. Now it's a story about Batman being extra upset because the woman he slept with got crippled, or maybe even worse, by the Joker. And that's not good, like, at all. You would assume after all this time, those in charge, the ones who have by all account wanted to make this movie forever, wouldn't have fallen into such a simple sinkhole, but that's just the way it is. What they've essentially done here is taken a story that wasn't really about Batgirl, made it all about her, and actually managed to fail doing so. But okay, you're all probably asking now, how is the actual comic parts of the movie? Well, I'm happy to report it's really, really good. This is Conroy and Hamill saying the lines that we've always wanted them to say. Hamill especially gets to show off all of his skills as an actor. He's terrifying one minute as probably one of the most evil versions of the Joker ever written. The next, he's pathetic and kind of relatable in the flashback scenes, Joker's possible origin being one of the other big reasons people remember this story so much. This is very much a shot-for-shot, line-for-line adaptation of The Killing Joke, which makes it all the more stranger that they tacked on the prologue that they did. On the animation side of things, it's crisp, fluid. Clearly they couldn't quite translate Brian Boland's art to the screen, but they managed to capture the spirit of the artwork. It's clear everyone brought their A game to this one, so we don't have to deal with bad CGI integration or reused assets like from some of the other animated movies. The music is also great, especially the stuff that underpins Joker's big monologues about how one bad day can turn anyone into a maniac just like him. And hey, if that's not enough for you, we get an actual song and dance number, and it's every bit as surreal and creepy as you would hope it would be. This was definitely a movie that needed an R rating, and yet as strange as it sounds, the second half doesn't push the envelope near as much as the first half does. Gordon's carnival ride into the depths of his own personal hell is every bit as shocking as you remember from the comics, and the Dark Knight's final showdown with the Clown Prince of Crime still carries all the poignancy that it did when it was first written. But in the end, The Killing Joke should have been a slam dunk. It should have been a perfect 10 out of 10, and the cherry on top of a lifetime's worth of work and achievement from Hamill and Conroy. While at times it is amazing, that prologue just shoots it right in the foot right out of the gate, and the movie never quite recovers, even when it is being transcendent. If you are a comic purist and want the best possible viewing experience, I would say skip the first 30 minutes, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see a bunch of fan edits soon enough that chop out the beginning of this movie, and honestly, it would be better for that. It would be impossible for me to see the movie for the first time again, but if I manage to offer up a better film experience for someone else out there, then I'll feel I definitely have done my job. For what it's worth though, if you are a Batman completionist like myself, then I'm sure you were already going to see this and no review would sway you one way or the other. Just, know what to expect going in, maybe adjust your expectations just a little bit, and I think you'll have a better time. For everything the movie did right, and don't get me wrong, it did a lot right, I feel I would be neglecting my duty as a critic though if I didn't score it fairly, and that fair score is actually only a 7 out of 10. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and while you're here, why not check out another video I have on offer, or maybe if you're feeling in a supportive mood, you want to like or subscribe. And if you want to support the creation of more videos just like this one, then please by all means check out the Cape Joel Patreon. A little bit goes a very long way, and I will see you all next time.